Welcome back to Long Story Short. So we've been talking a lot about the DSS, but we've been talking about the politics of it. Let's talk about the actual financials and how that works and doesn't work, I guess. So on Zoom, we have Jerome Chambers. He's the Director of Global Forensic TT, and he has another position that's really going to be important for the discussion that we're about to have. So Jerome, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about your other role and how that fits into the conversation that we're about to have about all of these new Sou Sous, the new Sou Sou.
Well, the other role is President of the Association of Compliance Professionals of Trinidad and Tobago. And in English, compliance relates to the areas of anti-money laundering, counter-financing of terrorism, and proliferation financing. So that once you're a financial institution, and that's easy to figure out what that is, insurance companies, banks, credit unions, and the like, or if you're a listed business, which refers to a class of business that allows for the conversion of amounts of cash into other forms of property. So say automotive dealers, jewelers, real estate agents, that's a listed business. Each one of those categories would have compliance departments charged with identifying customers, identifying their types of transactions, and trying to figure out, are these things potentially linked to money laundering or terrorist financing? And then they would liaise with the financial intelligence unit.
We're talking about registered businesses, and when you hear the DSS, is it a listed business? Where do your antennae go up when you talk about this?
Okay, it is not a listed business. It doesn't fall within that particular schedule of the law. However, when we first started to pay attention to this, I would say in and around June of this year, the red flags for some of us had to deal with the business model. Now, the business model is not new. It has been marketed as new, but they've been having the same issue in many Caribbean countries. I can think of Guyana coming to mind.
Barbados had a similar one with a church, actually.
Yes, Barbados also had a bit of it. And it also passed through the US. Mm-hmm. So this thing seemed to have been repackaged together with Black Lives Matter, repackaged together with COVID relief, and repackaged together with something that people should be familiar with, the Sou Sou.
So it's a perfect storm, and the situation was ripe for this.
Right. And very often, if you want to engage in something that is fraudulent, sometimes we refer to it as affinity fraud. You look for something that people can relate to, you repackage it, and you sell it to them. So lots of my clients said, but this is new, this is different. And I had to remind them, in and around 1984, the Mighty Sparrow had a song about Sou Sou, talking about the pyramid.
Yes.
Talking about the pyramid bus. And that was 1984. And then you hear people talking about, well, there are lots of professionals who are part of it. But Sparrow said that as well. Part of his chorus said he was introduced to it by his friend from Central Bank. That was 1984. And even if that is true, because we don't know if that is true, the fact that somebody who is a professional has introduced it to you, does that legitimize it?
Exactly.
No. This particular business model is designed to fail. It isn't designed to perpetuate itself. Now, whether you deal directly in the cash or you decide, I'm going to take a product. Now, if we take a product, we call it a multi-level marketing scheme.
Right. So that might be like the organo goals that people might have known about. And
right. So whether it's organo, noni, you name it. Because across in the US, there have been people who have actually launched lawsuits against even companies like Amway, because they are now likening it to a pyramid scheme. The thing is, once you see this business model, if we want to call it that, and the concentration is on recruitment,
right,
rather than sales, that's your first red flag. because we're not selling anything. Money increases in value if we take it. Let's say we purchase something at $100, we sell it for $150. That's the increase. But if it is, I say to you, give me $500 or give me $5,000, and in 6 to 8 weeks, I will sprinkle fairy dust on this money and it will magically make babies and increase in value. No, that doesn't happen in the real world. We're not talking about sparkle dust and unicorns here.
And that's
where
not your eyes, and that's when your eyes and ears start to perk up and you start to wonder, what's going on here? Where is this money coming from?
You see, I'll give you a working definition. And the working definition says, where you see a situation where there is intentional misrepresentation of fact in an effort to get another to act to their detriment, that's a definition of fraud. So if you take that and you match that against, give me $5,000 and in 6 to 8 weeks, I'll give you 5, 6, 10, 1,000%. What is it that you're not telling me? What is it that you're misrepresenting? If it is, I mean, stories say a lot of things. So take this story. Let's say hypothetically, I was running one of these schemes because it's getting more and more popular. It's not going away. Let's say I was running one of these schemes and I know for a fact that there's going to come a time where there are not going to be 2 more people to bring in.
Exactly.
You're going to reach a saturation point.
We have a small population.
That's right. At that point, the entire thing is going to come tumbling down. So let's say I have a cache of money, but I realize I can't get 2 more people or 4 more people or anything of this sort. But I am obligated, or I've given a commitment to people to pay them up. I could send some information out there on the airwaves, engage the authorities. The authorities could come and search and seize. And then I have a perfect opportunity to say, I am unable to make payments because of seizures.
Wow. I see where you're going with that. Is that what you...
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, okay.
Right. You see, part of our profession means that we have to look behind the veil to try to figure out how things work. Now, that's one side of the story. The other side of the story, and this is an experience we have seen, that there have been people who have gone in not understanding what's going on, but there are people who have gone in and they understand and they simply say, well, let's see if I can get in and get out quickly.
Yeah.
So I can get mine. But if you go in realizing that this is designed to fail, you go in fully aware of the fact that the money that you are collecting is really other people's money because there's been no investment, then aren't you also tap dancing on that definition of fraud, perhaps assisting the entire
you are now
enterprise?
aiding and abetting in some way.
Thank you.
All right, a lot more to discuss. Jerome Chambers is back after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. We were talking with Jerome Chambers. Here's more of that interview.
All right, the last end of that train, if you will, is that those maybe who have gotten in and come back out, they are now armed with the dollars, and they now seek to deposit this money, perhaps in a financial institution, or maybe to pay a premium, right? Now, immediately, the financial institution falls back on its compliance program and starts to ask questions like, declare your source of funds.
Anything over $10,000.
Now, when you say the source of my funds is a blessing, what in heaven's name is that? Because even within our little circle there, we always pay attention to where the source of money is coming from. So this enterprise, whether it's big Dubai or little Dubai, this enterprise now is collecting money from all over. Did they pay attention to the source of funds when it went in. And the last thing I should probably say there to you is that you would know by now that the authorities would have been given a seizure order for, I think, lasting for about 3 months.
Right.
All right. So we would take note of the fact that that order was granted under what we call POCA, the Proceeds of Crime Act. And that's worth repeating. The order was granted under the Proceeds of Crime Act. And among the smallest charges you can attract under that act is $250,000 and 3 years rent-free accommodation in a gated community.
But let me ask you something. You talk about Sparrow and all of the places all over the world where this has happened. And the biggest example I can think of, Bernie Madoff. Why do we not have something definitive on our law books that says Ponzi schemes, pyramid schemes, anything meant to defraud people through exactly your definition are illegal? Why is it that we still looking for technicalities here and there when we know this thing has been around and we know, as you said, they're destined to fail?
That's a good question. I mean, I can't answer that and be diplomatic at the same time. But I would say to you that if you go across to North America, it isn't legislated in every single state. Although everybody in the US knows Madoff. So that there are some states where it is clearly outright illegal. You can report it to the Better Business Bureau, but not in every state. Maybe, and I can only make a wild guess here, since it first happened in Trinidad and Tobago back in the early 80s, it has never really reared its head. So perhaps it just was not on the horizon. But I suspect with what's going on now, that it will, because we pay a lot more attention to things like money laundering and the like.
We have to, because of compliance all over with Europe and all these places that have blacklisted us over the years.
Yeah, that's right. And I think for the persons who may not necessarily live in my world, it's not that you are against anybody. However, when things like this happen, it affects the profile of the country. And once the profile of the country is affected, then the powers that be outside there come down on us. And when that happens, it then affects every citizen. Because if we get grey-listed or blacklisted, you can find yourself as a citizen going on your favorite eBay or Amazon or whatnot to make a purchase. And simply because your IP address shows you as being in Trinidad and Tobago, your purchase could be blocked.
Wow.
Simply because we didn't get this correct.
Jerome Chambers, final thoughts. Now that all of this money has been seized, a lot of people have their life savings in this, waiting for a comeback. What happens to them? Do they have any recourse at all legally?
That's a tough one. I mean, there have been people who've asked me before they went in, and I said to them, you should know better. That's people who I know, so I could buff them directly. For the people who I did not know and I was unable to buff, I think even these things that resemble receipts that have been given to them, and I do say things that resemble receipts, even those things indicate this is a risk that you are taking. Part of the problem worldwide, once you have humans involved, you always have a group of people that want something for nothing. And that is why schemes like these work.
And prosper.
You've given someone money, you know nothing about the person's background, and you are hoping that they return many times over. If they do not, even though they have said to you in the beginning, this is a risk, what are you going to sue them? Can you sue me for some personal arrangement where I said I was gifting, not investing, gifting? Can you sue me? What was I supposed to get? Can that be enforced? Did we have a legally binding agreement? Did we have offer acceptance consideration? All of those things will come into play.
It's all in the fine print going forward. Hopefully they read it, and hopefully he did a good job writing it. Well, good job is relative.
Overall, as I say to some of my friends, if somebody set up a parlor outside and said this was Drugs Parlor and asked me to buy corncles, it's Drugs Parlor. What am I buying corncles there for?
What's in a name? Jerome Chambers.
Pharmaceuticals, maybe.
Jerome Chambers, thank you so very much for your time. And I have a feeling that we will be talking again because this story is not going away. And the support for it is growing, as you said, Little Dubai. So we're going to have more on this. Thank you so much, Jerome Chambers. All right, that's our show. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.